and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we thank you for the opportunity to have the dedication, the celebration of the Alt Ed building a little earlier, and we thank you for all the folks that had made that happen, from the state, from Huttonsville, from here. We thank you for all the effort, and we thank you for that building, and we ask that you would bless what we do tonight, that it would lead to that kind of results, for that kind of successes for the students of our county. Amen. And first thing we have is presentations, and Mr. Johnson, I believe you are up for that.
Well, good evening, folks. It's a real pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I do apologize for not having been able to get here earlier. As you can see, I come to you sans PowerPoint or other show-offy things that sometimes are part of presentations. And I do that for two reasons. First of all, because our President Charles said, keep it short, keep it simple, which is a good reason. The second reason, however, is because I really didn't feel like this was the time for a song and dance routine. We, as a library, are entering some very fraught seas in the upcoming fiscal years. I expect you folks are as well. So I wanted to have a more down-to-earth discussion about where the library sees itself and how we are preparing ourselves for what might be coming. I should start out first with a little information that we just got from the Library Commission, the library section, just this past week. You are probably aware of most of this, but so you know the library is as well. You may be aware that the library section of the state government, as of July 1st, will actually be shifted from the Department of Arts, Culture, and History to the Department of Tourism. No one is quite sure yet of what that means in the long term. Short term, the libraries have been reassured by the Commission that very little internally will change as far as our processes and our reporting lines. Several faces are changing. The Library Commission has lost several people to other departments, other roles. But the internal processes will more than likely stay the same, at least through this coming fiscal year. We have also been told, had a confirmation that the libraries, the individual libraries in the state, their budgets are solid for this coming fiscal year. They were already in place before some of the more nebulous actions came about. After that, it gets a little cloudier, and we are doing our best to kind of prepare for all eventualities. The big question at this point is the fate of IMLS, and I'm sure you're familiar with the Institute of Museum and Library Services. They are actually the source, the federal source for our state funding through grants and aid. The courts have currently intervened, and everything is in a stay while this matter works through the courts. But there is at least a chance that IMLS as a going concern will end. And of course, again, no one is quite sure what that will mean. However, the Library Commission has been developing, I don't know what you'd call it, a shadow budget, that works out to a 50% budget cut across the board for all library services in the state. I doubt I have to elaborate on what a 50% cut in a single fiscal year means for any organization. The commission has adopted the approach that the first things that would conceivably happen is any open positions, of which there are, I think now about a half a dozen, would be frozen to save those funds. After that, we would be looking at, we as a group of libraries would be looking at the global services we provide. For instance, our subject databases. They are available across the board to all libraries, but they are expensive. And I know that right now the Library Commission is looking into usage, in fact, to determine if we are getting the value that we need from that investment. Tutor, West Virginia is another one that is certainly important and a great value-added item to our services to the community, but it may not be a priority. So those questions are kind of being dealt with at the Library Commission level. The state changes, the potential for federal monies being lessened or drying up, these are the kinds of things that can really throw an unprepared institution. One thing I didn't mention, I apologize. The other bit of federal money that we are very concerned about is the Digital Equity Act. The Library Commission has reported that those funds right now are currently frozen. This is potentially a big deal because those funds are the federal funds that enable us to bring Wi-Fi to the community. That's the money that the Commission uses to fund the Wi-Fi in all of the libraries. So again, something that could negatively affect our ability to serve our community the way that we always have and the way that we wish to. So, what do we do locally? I think the key word in this moment for our library is investment. And the library had already begun this program of kind of reinvesting in our own institution before all this happened. And now it may not seem like the wisest time to go investing, but there are different kinds of investment, obviously. Just in this past year, we've been able to, for the first time that I'm aware of, not just replace a staff person who left, but add a second staff person. So for the first time in quite some time, we actually were able to add staff, which was sorely needed. Obviously, even more so if we want to progress on some of the plans that we have. We were also able to bring a cost of living increase to all of our staff for the first time. That's actually the first time that's happened. And we did this in a year, again, of a tight budget, and it comes down to being a matter of priorities. We have good people working for us that work beyond the call of duty. They really do, because we're so invested in our mission. But you can't keep good people forever if they can't afford to live. And so we knew that, if nothing else, just a sign of appreciation and value, that we needed to do that for our staff. And we were able to accomplish it. This has enabled us to broaden our plans for summer reading this year. And congratulations on your affiliation with Energy Express. I think that can only be, another good facet of summertime for our kids. The library similarly is expanding our live programming on Wednesdays, and we are working with Brooke and Corey and others to coordinate as best we can, and potentially bring some more things in. But for right now, we have 6 weeks of live presentations planned, all on the national theme of Color Our World. So unlike last summer, which was kind of outdoorsy, this is actually much more artistic. We will have poets, we will have musicians, we will have songwriters, writer, and an artist, all to kind of develop that theme in their own way. And then we will have, and you are all of course invited, our big summer party at the end, which will be the third Saturday in July, I believe. But this isn't, it's only because we had those extra hands on deck that we've been able to kind of expand what we're trying to do. There's some other investments. This first year of my tenure, I think we've been investing quite a bit, but a lot of it has been behind the scenes. It's not very visible yet. We've been working hard on freshening our collections, particularly our juvenile nonfiction collections, which we're still referring to Skylab like it was in the air. And what was that, 1978, I think, 76? We've spent the last year actually targeting that collection for improvement. We've made a lot of behind the scenes changes to try and get leaner, to simplify our processes. And a big reason for that is because we recognize that we're going to have to be more nimble going forward than we've been able to be in the past. So, just here in a week or two, probably, visitors to the library will see a brand new service desk that was custom designed for our space by a local artisan and built. That will probably be installed by the end of this month. We're just finishing up the construction on it now. It will enable us to serve people, folks better, but it will also serve to brighten the interior of the library, modernize it a little bit, and give people that idea that we are not stuck in amber, that we are moving forward. Yes, the times may be fraught, but that is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be more creative, to take a more creative approach in what we do in service to the community. A big part of that in my mind and in my experience, the collections that a library holds for a community are critically important, and they are the foundation of any library. But what really ties a library to its community is active participation, programming, outreach, these things that you folks do really well, and things that perhaps our library hasn't done as well in the past, at least not since COVID. So that's going to be a big thrust of this year. Once we get past summer reading and our community space downstairs is free, we will shutter it and we will bring in media installation. We already have the hardware on site and have plans, but we will be able to house any kind of presentation that we develop or that anyone wants to bring in. And that includes instruction. We are writing a grant request. Unfortunately, I understand that money is currently being held too, but we are submitting a grant for $10,000 for instructional laptops. That is something that we would struggle to afford on our own. So we are looking for grant assistance on that score. But instruction, we have a film program waiting to go. We will have musical acts, jam sessions. We may even hold a theater acting group. So we do have fairly significant plans for that downstairs space, which unfortunately I guess everyone who's visited the library knows is largely wasted space. You can't lose half your building and do nothing but hold birthday parties in it. It just makes no sense. It's not a wise use of the resources that we do have. So we do definitely want to expand our reach out into the community by virtue of that space and the work that we can do down there. do think that we are actually in pretty good shape for the immediate future. I know how critical the gracious funding from the school board has been to what we've been able to do so far. I would ask that we continue that for as long as possible for both of our sakes. And I do want to offer the library and library services to the board, to the schools. Coordination is going to be key, cooperation is going to be key moving forward. There are forces that are literally arraying against education, against an educated population, and against what that means. The library takes no position on the cultural wars of the day. We are not going to make the mistake that I feel a lot of libraries make, and that's becoming an advocacy organization for one thing or another. We're going to remain neutral. The only advocacy that we aspire to is equal access to our services and collections to all. That's it. That's simple. I am happy to answer any questions that you folks might have now or anytime. But I did want to, particularly with the newest information from the library board, or from the library commission, I did want to come and make sure that I could express my perspective on it so that you folks know where I'm coming from, where we're trying to go with the library, and I would welcome any comments or questions.
Any questions from anybody? Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good luck navigating all of the circumstances.
It's always fun.
Thank you for what you do.
Yes. And I don't think we have any public comments, so student and staff recognition.
So instead of student and staff recognition, I'd like to actually recognize a former board member, Rick Gillespie. Last week we had our DC trip and we had flooding here and we let out early and our buses were coming back and JP was somewhat involved in this too. We were concerned about the water that was rising over to Dry River, and Rick went over and made sure it escorted all of our buses back and made sure everybody got safely back to the high school.
I really appreciate him doing that.
Yeah.
That was a scary day, and we didn't have the bad flooding.
No.
Anything to come up under student and staff recognition? Any questions or anything? We all received the minutes from the May 6th board meeting. Do we have a motion to accept them, or are there any corrections or additions?
So moved to accept.
We have a motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If there is no discussion, then all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. Personnel.
Resignation and retirements, Megan Light, resignation of Special Education Coordinator and Human Resources Executive Secretary.
Yeah, my recommendation to accept Megan Light's resignation.
Our superintendent's recommending that we accept Megan Light's resignation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Yes, I'd like to know why she resigned.
She sent an email. She was having some medical concerns that she is not able to move at this
It's
time.
on her letter. It's on her letter. It's on here.
I don't
That's why you don't know.
know. Well, she just had a baby, so I don't know if that has something to do with it or not. I would talk to her.
She wasn't specific in the email.
Yeah, I don't know.
So all in favor of the motion to approve the resignation, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Alright, permission to close, half-time itinerant special education teacher with autism certification at Pendleton County Middle High School.
You have my recommendation to close the half-time itinerant special education teacher at Pendleton County Middle High School.
We have a recommendation to close the half-time special education teacher position. Do we close that position? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving closing the half-time special education teacher position, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Melinda.
Motion passes.
Permission to post itinerant special education teacher with autism certification at Pendleton County Middle High School.
You have my recommendation for permission to post the itinerant special education teacher at Pendleton County Middle High School. And that's a full-time position.
Our superintendent's recommending granting permission to post a full-time itinerant special education position. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the permission to post a full-time position, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Before we go into employment of personnel, let the minutes show that Mrs. Kimmel recused herself from the room. Travis, can you get the door back there, please?
Okay.
Employment of personnel, Gwen Colley, itinerant special education teacher with autism certification at Pendleton County Middle High School. Charity Har, itinerant aide with autism mentor and CPI certification at Brandywine Elementary School. Monica Smith, substitute aide, and Natalie Chapman, substitute aide.
You have my recommendation for employment of personnel as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending employing the personnel as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of employing the four personnel as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Alright, approval of volunteer and chaperones for Franklin Elementary School as listed.
You have my recommendation for approval of volunteers and chaperones at Franklin Elementary School as listed.
Our superintendent's recommending approval of the volunteers and chaperones at Franklin Elementary as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? And all in favor of approval of the volunteers and chaperones at Franklin Elementary School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Does that conclude us under personnel?
That does.
So we are now concluded under personnel, and we will move to finance.
All right, let me scroll down the agenda screen here to section number 7. Finance 7A is if we had any public that had any questions about the budget, we would have the budget hearing under 7A. I will go ahead and roll into 7B, presentation budget for approval. I've also given handouts to you in summarized form. There are no major changes, just very, very minor changes for rounding and items like that. So it is the same basic budget as was discussed preliminarily at last meeting. I will go over some of the highlights, and I will also be able to answer any questions if you have any. So the first page I am going over is the landscape page, which just sort of summarizes this budget for approval. Fund 11, which is our general current fund, the state aid, the taxes, it's non-grant, it's non-special projects, $18,174,407. Fund 41, permanent improvement. We've been setting aside $50,000 for about 5 to 6 years. Permanent improvement fund that continues to grow. In case we do have some issues, that we have no funding from the state or locally able to do for HVAC or other facility needs or items like that. So that is putting some money aside, or maybe it could be a match someday if we needed it to be for any grants that we receive for capital improvement. So that's been set aside again for 5 to 6 years. Fund 61, $1,975,400,000. The largest part of that is child nutrition, over $1 million. It does include some Title I, some special ed, and I'll talk about those here in a little more detail. So the total budget to be presented tonight and requested to be approved, $20,199,807. That is an increase from last year's submitted at this time of $19,429,477, about a 4% increase. PEIA insurance is up about 14%, so that's a large part of that. I think I said at the last meeting, a little bit for experience increment increases, some for energy, inflation, transfer for child nutrition, and some of those items. But the largest piece of that by far is the increase in insurance. Now, most of that we receive revenue for from the state, so that does not affect our bottom line negatively. So I'm going to go down now to the staple handout, hit some highlights in summarized form. So fund balance is the first one. Last year at this time we were using 1.2 million. I'm looking at 1.55 million. The good piece is our fund balance is healthy and has grown. Realistically, I do not see that growth continuing, indefinitely. And, as we've taken some proactive measures this year into next year, we will continue to have to keep an eye on funding streams of various sources, expenditures, and we will end FY25 in solid position. We will exceed the 1.55 million. I can't say by how much. We'll exceed that, so we'll be in good shape. Next year will be its own year, and it's a very solid budget. We'll see how that transpires through the year. Taxes, local taxes increased by almost $100,000. Again, the state recoups 85% of that, but the county gets to keep 15% in the basic calculations. State aid is basically the same if you add in the regular state aid and some of the minor adjustments that come along with that in step 7 and those. So basically the same, just over $8 million. Retirement and insurance, that did increase by over $300,000. And again, that's a lot of the PEIA increase, which is a 14% increase for insurance, where the revenue piece comes in from the state on that. Medicaid, leaving alone at $150,000. We've not received any definitive word about Medicaid funding from any federal sources. Could it potentially be reduced at some point? It could. We usually receive 180 to 190. So 150 is still, I believe, conservative, but if that would need to be adjusted downward going forward, we'd have to look at that. Forest land, budgeting $50,000, budgeted $75,000 last year. We did have a trip to DC last week, coincidentally the same time as the buses were coming back in the rain last week, and so there is some hope that secure rural schools forest land is still alive. There was a lot of discussion last week that can be passed, attached to some of these final budget bills to be submitted, and of course negotiation in Washington right now. There's no guarantee on that. So we used to receive over 100,000. Last year it was almost 80. The hope is to get it reauthorized for the current year and then for 2 future years. And so hopefully it is more than 50,000, but if it isn't, then we've dropped the budget to hopefully account for that. So technology comes from the state, has to be transferred to a separate project. That's the technology piece on that. So the total Fund 11, or the state and local taxes, $18,174,407. This is on the revenue side. Then we get to that Fund 41, permanent improvement, talked about in summary form. Okay, 50,000 just being transferred into permanent improvement. Then we get to the special projects, the grants. We have state and federal, and any transfers like into child nutrition. So the Fund 61 for the projects, $1,975,400,000. Total revenue, $20,199,807, matching the summary sheet. Again, about a 4% increase from the $19,429,477.92 last year. And insurance itself went up about 14%. And aside from that, our liability insurance increased as well, not dollar amount as much, but percentage-wise, it had a pretty sizable increase as well. Now to the expenditure side, in summary fashion. The expenditure side has just almost $9 million, and that is in direct instruction. Yes, we've had a couple of reductions in some positions that are factored in now, some different years of service. So just about the same as last year, factored into the direct instruction. Now you have support services like the special ed services, some of those support services, some of the nursing, some of the attendance, some of the counseling. So support services, $1,192,200,000. You have some other support services and some of the therapists and things like that. Then you have administration, $462,500. Administration at the school levels. Then you go down to the next large jump is maintenance. Looking at inflation, hopefully that's a little bit high, conservative on the maintenance side, but that would include operating the schools. That includes property insurance, electricity, repairs and maintenance, and those sorts of items. Transportation includes diesel, includes repairs and maintenance there. It does include also some of the insurance costs that get paid to the bus drivers. So some of these also do include the salaries for the maintenance and the insurance for the maintenance and custodians, and the salaries and benefits for transportation bus drivers as well. So then scrolling down, lease purchase. We do have another lease purchase of a bus. And of course, we lease purchase the lockers coming in, but they will help us pay those expenses over several years as opposed to paying them at once. That's factored in. And then we get to page 2 of the expenditure side, transfer out from the general fund 11 to the child nutrition and other local projects. We have technology, which was also transferred in and out. Reserves, which is conservative. The reserves that we have there, $1,187,100. And then total fund 11, matching our summary, $18,174,407. Permanent improvement of 50. The fund 61, special projects, $1,975,400. And so then that totals expenditures, the same as revenue, $20,199,807. So it is a solid budget. It is a balanced budget. One thing I wanted to mention, the state had told us in projecting our federal allocations for next year to use what we received in the current year. So we've done that for things like Title I and special ed. Now subsequent to that, and that's still the state's official position, Travis has learned that Title I may be reduced close to 10% for next year. Now we can certainly absorb that. It doesn't change the bottom line, but it could potentially be a reduction of about $25,000 in funding from Title I. So we have enough of a conservative budget that we can handle that. But if you add that in, if there's other programs that get reduced, if forest land gets reduced, or Medicaid, or at the state level, which obviously is our biggest funding source, then you have to continue to maintain communication and looking at those items. So even with that 10% Title I, it still is a very solid budget. We will certainly have to pay attention beyond next year, as well as next year coming up. So $20,199,807 is the proposed budget for approval for fiscal year 26.
You have my recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2025-26 budget as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the 2025-26 budget as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
whichever.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the 25-26 budget in the amount of $20,199,807, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. So that is A and B. Item C, nothing under 7C for budget revisions. Going to move down to 7D. A little bit of a memo about secure rural schools. I'll start off with the board object report, which is just summarizing where we are in the current year. It has our various categories, and again, the important information is at the top of the second page. It can't quite squeeze it on one page, but the right side, 2,140,000, that's where we are to the good at the current moment. Yes, we have to do a year-end transfer for child nutrition. We also have some encumbrances, purchase orders, that are a little bit overestimated, not extremely, but once we close those out, that'll throw 100,000, 150,000 back in the budget. I think we have some others on the salary encumbrances that will throw some money back in. So by the time you balance out the remaining transfers and or utilities and substitute costs, I still expect us to be in the 1.8 million range or 1.9 million, when we finish up the year, barring anything else coming along. I know we have some capital projects that we're trying to get done that Travis may end up talking about. Those may actually hit the books, in next fiscal year, as far as that goes. So we're still in very solid position for the current year based on all the factors that we have. The second item is an email and secure rural schools. There were about 16 to 18 persons. Charles is up there before, so is Nicole, that flew in from some of the western states, and some of us in West Virginia drove in. Greenbrier, Pocahontas, and Pendleton. They did pass a budget. It includes the House Ag Committee's extension for 3 fiscal years. Obviously, there's a lot of issues that are bigger in Congress right now than secure rural schools. But at this time, this appears to be included. If it does get to the House floor and get voted on, then that would be a positive for secure rural schools, and it would go to the Senate. And then they hope to have a budget reconciliation bill by July 4th. That doesn't mean it'll happen then, but this email is talking about that. So as far as secure rural schools for forest land goes, it seemed difficult at one point that it was going to maintain, but now it seems like it has been revived from life support, and it sounds like it has a good chance of being reauthorized. Again, this doesn't deal with any other federal funding that we get or that sort of thing, but secure rural schools is good in that it can be used for it just helps balance the budget. It is no strings attached with that particular thing. With that being said, that's all that I have for tonight under a financial update.
Any questions for JP? And thank you for finishing us up on financial, and we'll move to facilities.
Okay, I just want to start with a couple thank yous. Robert and a few people out there at the middle high school spent some time last week cleaning up some of the flower beds and stuff like that, spreading mulch, and that's very much appreciated. I think it makes the school look very nice. And I also want to say thanks to JD and Sonny for coming and helping last Friday at North Fork and help speed that process up some. As JP mentioned, over the summer we do have some projects that we're going to be working on. We have one classroom at Brandywine where we're going to need to replace the floor. Just the tile is cracking pretty badly in one of those classrooms, so we're going to work on a replacement in there, and also at Franklin Elementary with some carpet replacement. And at Brandywine, we've got some outside stuff that we want to try to accomplish. So we'll have some minor projects going on around the county over the summer that JP mentioned. We did have a compressor go out in one of our AC units at the high school a couple weeks ago, and we found out that it was the compressor had gone bad, and so luckily there was a few days of struggle there where it was very warm in the office area, and that was the area that affected, plus some classrooms, but we were able to get a compressor fairly quickly, and then we had to do some checks to make sure we didn't have any other leaks, which we did find some leaks. We got those taken care of, and we got the air back up and going there maybe first of the week, I think it was, but anyway, it's much appreciated for those folks getting that back up and going, and that's really all I have for facilities, unless you guys have some questions.
Who did the flower bed by the old ed building?
Actually, Robert and a few of the students out
Did
there worked on planting some flowers,
Really
and
nice.
and Nicole
Brick
might
or
know some
walk
other
or
folks.
whatever they used. Looked nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Any other questions? Thank you. That'll finish us up under facilities, and we move to old business, and we have the 2025-26 board meeting schedule.
I did have one, JM. What about insurance? I come to look at the building.
So we
Almighty
have
building.
contacted them on both parties as far as what was involved there. And tomorrow I'm gonna meet some folks from Lance Construction, and they're gonna bring an engineer in, and hopefully we can kind of get a number of what we think it's gonna cost to repair that. And then we'll submit that back to our insurance, and then we'll move on from there for getting it fixed.
Did you have an engineer, I mean, was they able to continue using the gym and stuff?
So the Lance is gonna bring someone with him. Lisa had already planned, her graduation. And so I think she went ahead and used, Circleville High School, I believe, is who
The
she.
Historical Society's grand use of Circleville High School, the gym at Circleville for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so tomorrow was about as quick as I could get it, and I knew she had some stuff that she needed to get done before that, so that was probably just the best avenue to go that route.
We have filed 2 claims. The automotive goes with our liability, all with board of risk, but 2 separate departments. The building is on the property side. That may end up working together, but there's 2 separate claims involved with insurance on
I
that.
guess it is
Yeah, I
strange
was
you
just
run
gonna
into your
ask
own
that.
building.
It's a little different to have
insurance
2,
involved,
yes, but, so they will certainly work together on that, but we have filed 2 separate claims on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we'll go back to the 2025-26 board meeting schedule.
Did we have any changes, any dates that we need to change in the schedule? We've all had an opportunity to look at it.
Looked good to me.
I just work around it, whatever.
I would recommend an approval of the 25-26 board meeting schedule.
Superintendent's recommending approval of the 25-26 board meeting schedule. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Any- Yeah, we'll get you in there.
Thank you.
Any discussion, any questions? All in favor of approving the schedule as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Textbook adoption.
So need to make one correction, from the last meeting. I had made a mistake whenever we did the, last approval. So on the last sheet that I had was grade 6 through 8, was all Cengage learning for the materials. And I was incorrect on that. Grade 6 and 7 is Cengage, and then for 8th grade, West Virginia history, they want to adopt Gallopade. So we need to make that correction.
You have my recommendation to approve the textbook adoption list for social studies as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending we approve the textbook adoption list as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the social studies and West Virginia history textbooks, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. New business and in-county transfers.
JP, we can't click on that.
Right.
So I have one, oh, thank you. I have one in-county transfer. It's transfer 25-26, number 1 for your approval. It's for the start of next school year.
You have my recommendation to approve transfer 25-26, number 1.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve transfer number 25-26, number 1. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
And those classes are so small, this doesn't matter at all, does it?
No.
Okay.
Does not.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of approving the in-county transfers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yep. Opposed, no. Motion passes. MOU.
Alright, we have an MOU for Communities in School. It's the nation's leading dropout prevention organization, and it uses an evidence-based model to help students stay in school and succeed. In West Virginia, CIS partners with school districts and place site coordinators in the school who provide integrated student supports, connect with community partners, and offer individualized case management tailored to each school's need. To continue supporting Pendleton County Schools, the Department of Education is awarding a $262,000 $500 grant for CIS services at Pendleton County Schools, which includes Pendleton County Middle High School, Franklin Elementary, North Fork Elementary, and Brandywine Elementary. The department assigns a communities and school regional specialist to us this previous year and anticipated for next year. Her name is Brittany Butler. She helps oversees the program, provides training and technical assistance, conducts site surveys, and offers tools such as budget templates, reporting forms, and access to the CIS data management system. Us as a district will provide supervision, implementations, facilitate monthly support meetings, and attend required trainings and submit quarterly progress reports. On the school's end, if there's a vacant position, the school principals will help select the site coordinator to ensure the implementation of the CIS model aligns with their school strategic plan. They will also support the site coordinator by forming a school support team, offer necessary workspace and equipment, and participating in required training and reporting. And this partnership is just a continuing to create a strong system and support for students around Pendleton County schools.
You have my recommendation to approve the MOU with Community and Schools, the West Virginia Department of Ed.
Our superintendent's recommending approving the MOU with Community and Schools. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
And
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the MOU with Community and Schools, West Virginia Department of Education, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Ninth month attendance report under other, I think, is next.
All right, so I have a couple of things to talk about. First, I want to share, since our last board meeting, North Fork Elementary had their third day this year with 100% attendance, which is amazing. So the ninth month attendance report here, the numbers for the seventh month, if you recall back, weren't great. It was when that sickness had gone through last month, we saw some improvement, and so the ninth month, we're back to really where we should be. So Brandywine Elementary School's first grade had the highest individual grade percentage at 98.035%. North Fork Elementary was the overall best school at 95.804. Fifth grade, this is the first time fifth grade has been the highest grade level this year. They were at 96.962%, and then the overall county average for the ninth month was at 93.987. The other report, JP, that's in that document is just an overview from chronic absenteeism. I've been tracking progress this year by days, every 10 days, and comparing it to the last 2 years. So green is good, better than last year. Red, we had dropped from where we were last year. You can see a lot of green on the page, and particularly at day 170, all of our schools are performing better than they were last year. A couple just points to make on this. North Fork Elementary School has decreased their chronic absenteeism rates by over 5%, and the high school, Mrs. Heavener, over 6% decrease. So they're doing what they need to be doing. Our kids are in school. We're showing some improvement. The county overall at day 170 compared to last year was a change of 4.71%. So we are in our last 10 days of school. We know that this is a tough time. I know that there's going to be absences between now and the end of the school year, but I feel like we've made so much progress throughout the school year that we're still going to end up in a better place than we were at the end of last school year. So I just wanted to share that with you too.
Great, thank you, and congratulations to everybody. Okay, so that finishes up the ninth, unless there's questions. Does anybody have any questions? Then the school improvement student achievement.
So just kind of piggyback off JP a second. That was a big thing for me at one of our recent meetings with the federal programs is the decrease in funding in that area, and we will need to kind of monitor that moving forward as that does, those staff members do help with the student improvement and achievement in our building, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But just wanted to mention that May 30th is coming up next week. We do have some trainings scheduled with that. Barbara and I have been working on getting some folks in for some training there. We're already working on our new employee orientation in August and also our back-to-school schedules, and also looking at planning out our October PD day. So even though this school year's not quite over, we're already looking forward to the next year and getting everything lined up. So quite a few things lined up already and coming into place. So anyone have any questions?
Nope. Sounds good, thank you. Superintendent's update.
So this week we'll be finishing up with our makeup test for our general summative assessment. We should have almost all of those, almost 100% of those completed by the end of this week. There, as Carrie said, there is 6 days of school left. And Sunday at 2 o'clock is our graduation out at the middle high school, and that's pretty much it.
And okay. And the conference and meeting update.
Well, conference and meeting update, tomorrow, JD and I are at South Branch Career and Technical Center. On Thursday, Cindy and I are at an EPIC meeting, in-person EPIC meeting in Hardy County at Moorfield High School at 12 o'clock. And I think that's it until the next board meeting.
Did you do anything, the last meeting, you talked about those dual, the credits, and it was delayed to this meeting, has anything progressed on that?
What's your question, Wilma, on the dual credit?
Dual credits, there were, at the last meeting, it was dual credits, honor courses for approval, and it was moved to this meeting.
We approved those at the last meeting.
I had, that it was moved to this next meeting.
And the first time we did move it, we moved it in April, and
To
then
May.
the first meeting in May, we did the approval
Okay.
of that list.
Okay. Any more questions? Then our next meeting will be here on June the 3rd at 5:30, and I will accept now a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions on that? All in favor signify by saying